And welcome to the podcast, Aaron Borg. Dude, how you been?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good seeing you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, I've noticed that you were just down at Winton. Far out, that weekend looked like crazy to me.
Yeah, it was. We were down there obviously last weekend, so it was good fun. Obviously the Utes we've been in this year, so yeah, they're good fun, good racing, and big loud Utes are always fun with flames shooting out. So it's yeah, it was good. It was nice and cold down there, which obviously for race cars is good, but for the environment's not great. But yeah, it was good. It was good fun. We ended up got a win in the first race.
Yep.
Had a unfortunately cut tyre in the second race, so. Basically, it was reverse grid, so as we were coming through, something fell off the car in front of me and basically ran on. I had to run over it pretty much, and it's cut the inside of the tyre, and probably 3 or 4 laps later, it blew up on me. So we're luckily kept going to get some points, ended up changing the tyre in the pits, and then the last 2 races we ended up finishing second behind my teammate Dave Cedars. So it's good. We extended our championship lead, which is the main goal, obviously, as you know, and. We're hoping to keep the lead and keep extending it at the next one.
Yeah, you've had a huge relationship with the Cedars boys, haven't you, since racing?
Yeah, pretty much all of my car racing has been with the Cedars boys. So I've been very fortunate. They've helped me out a lot over the years. So I started with them. Was actually kind of with them by association with Andrew Fisher.
Yep.
Fishtail, he obviously ran. I'm not sure many people know, but he ran Jesus Racing Team.
Yeah.
And I was working with him at the time, and obviously he knew that I was into racing, and I was helping him run his team and obviously doing stuff with Cedars. So, I actually started with Cedars sort of working on tyres and doing tyre pressures and everything at their V8 rounds a few years back while I was kart racing at the time.
Yeah.
And then, sort of just kept at it. And then, as I said, Andrew, he helped me out a lot as well. He knew obviously that I wanted to get into car racing, and he gave me my first opportunity. We did my first national race, or my first car race was at Darwin up in the V8 Utes, and it was baptism by fire hopping into the Utes, because that was when they had 30 odd cars at the time, and it was real crash and bash. So I've gone from kart racing into full on V8 Ute racing, and it was it was quite the experience. We I think ended up starting, because obviously they had big reverse grid races. So started one of the races off third and ended up finishing in the top 10 in that one. But it was good fun, and being in Darwin in a V8 Ute, the temperatures up there were through the roof. So I've gone from being in an open cart with nothing around to basically having heat 40, 50 degree cabin temperatures and trying to get through a race while you got 30 other cars around you trying to hit you off the track. So it was it was good fun and great way to get into it. So Cedars have been with them for ages, and like I said, sort of started by association with Andrew Fisher, who helped me a lot at the beginning.
Can you explain to me a bit about like the Cedars atmosphere, like as a race team? So like I've had other guys come in here, and like I race for Barton Moore, right? So it's like a very like nostalgic type of atmosphere. What's the Cedars shed like, and what's the setup there, and how does the boys all get involved?
Yeah, so Cedars is, so I say it a lot, it's kind of like my family away racing. It's a big family environment. Like it is a family run team. Like they've got so Luke Cedars, he's the manager of the team, and he runs it day in, day out. But you've got Bill, his dad, who drives all the trucks around. My dad actually this year's been helping drive the trucks around as well. So it's good to get my dad involved as well, because he loves it. So it's a big family environment. You got the parents. So so Luke's mum, Chris, and his aunt Sylv, they get involved as well. They do all the catering for everyone. It's a big family environment. Like they've got a few boys that work there full time, but then they also get a lot in that are volunteers. So we have a lot of TAFE guys from down at Albury Wodonga who come up to the different race events, whether it be in the 86s or the V8 Utes. It's great to have sort of that great, I guess, family atmosphere behind it as well, because you feel like it's more than a team, and you have some good fun around racing. We've got a few interesting characters in the team as well. I've got a few good teammates, especially the Mags boys, Jared and Jaden. They're always good fun to have around.
They're pretty charismatic.
They are. They're very charismatic. Everyone knows that they're there when they're there. So it's great fun. It just makes the whole weekend a bit more fun and a bit more lighthearted. And obviously we're there. Everyone's serious when it needs to be. And we're there to win races and win championships, but it's good to have that atmosphere where you can, like, I'm good mates with pretty much all the boys who work there full time, and it's good having that family atmosphere as well.
They're talking about the Mags. Didn't you actually race their time attack car? Did that deal come about through the Cedars thing?
Yeah, pretty much. So Jared's got a R33 Skyline that he's turned into this monster of a thing for World Time Attack. It's got basically over 1,000 horsepower, big wings on it, everything like that. And he used to have Stevie J, so Steve Johnson used to race it. And yeah, he basically got to the point where during COVID, obviously Time Attack got put off a couple of times, and then he wanted me to be testing the car, and then Luke suggested to him, well, why don't you get him to race it as well if he's going to be testing it? And then kind of went on from there. So yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to. We actually didn't end up testing it. We actually just went straight into the race. So it kind of didn't work the same way that it was planned anyway. But it was it was amazing. Like I think the only problem with Time Attack is you only really get 2 laps at a time when you're out there, because otherwise the car won't last. And so I think over the weekend I did something like 10 or 12 laps total.
And that's it.
That's it. But it was, great experience. We were doing almost 300 Ks. I think we did 296 Ks an hour at Eastern Creek down the main straight. So you move
Was that at night?
No, that was actually during the day. So we're running, because we've got about 10 different boost settings on them. And basically we'll just slowly, we kept it pretty low while I was getting used to it on the first day. And then the second day we were just slowly bringing it up as I was getting used to it again. And the session just before the night one, we went to, I think it was setting 6 out of 10.
Yep.
And that's when we got 296, I think it was, down the straight. And
right.
We were 4th quickest time at the time, and we knew there was a lot more in it. So we then, for the nighttime one, wound it up all the way. It was ready to go. I started my lap, came down the straight, and then all of a sudden just had no power.
Right.
So it was one of those things where it was very disappointing, because we wanted to. The boys were pretty keen to see the 300k, and they had taped up all the cracks in the car and made it as slipstream as possible.
Right.
And we were obviously trying to get onto the podium for Jared as well, and we were pretty close. So I think with that extra boost and new tyres and everything, we probably would have got there, but it's one of the things, typical motorsport, or could have, should have. So, but yeah, it was great fun. So it was, great experience. And hopefully, I know Jared's got the car away now, getting worked on again. So hopefully we'll be back for the next one.
So I actually want to know about you, Aaron, just as like a person, and you know how you grew up. I know that you had open heart surgery at the age of 7. Can you actually talk about, like, you know, your parents are heavily involved in your motorsport, and just, you know, how you grew up and how that all happened before you got to karts?
Yeah. So I was born with a heart condition, which is called subaortic stenosis, which that's obviously a very technical term, but the layman's terms of it is basically one of my main aortas, one of the main arteries was blocked. It actually had a growth in it. It was like a muscular growth that just kept getting bigger and bigger. So I was like, when I was a kid, I remember being at school and I couldn't walk more than 50 metres without being out of breath and not being able to keep up with everyone. And I was quite an active kid even with that. So for me, it was quite hard. I then had to have like all these heart monitors every now and then on me at school and everything like that. So it was, it was tough times being a little kid having to do that. And I look back at it now, and like, at the time you sort of, obviously you're a kid, you don't really understand it much, but you look back now and you can actually see, well, wow, this is a lot that you actually went through, and my parents did a lot to help make sure that I didn't feel like it was a big burden. One of those things is obviously racing. I couldn't race normally, as you know, as most people know, you can start karting when you're 7. I couldn't do that because of my heart problem, but I actually had open heart surgery when I was 7, as you said. It was interesting because I was in and out of hospital all through my childhood, but when I got to the time for the open heart surgery, we'd gone through the prep and everything before it, and just before they go in, they do another scan and an ultrasound and all the rest of it. And they actually said to my parents, they said, "Oh, we can't actually see the blockage, so we don't know where it's gone and all the rest of it." And they're like, "Oh, do you still want to go ahead with it?" And my parents would like, "Well, I was pretty much under and all the rest of it anyway, so like, well, we've gone this far, like it's weird that it's gone, so we may as well go ahead with it." And very fortunate decision from my end that they made, because basically the reason why they couldn't see it is because the blockage had grown completely over the whole aorta. So it was the doctors afterwards said it was a good call, because basically I would have probably had 2 weeks to live if they didn't cut it out at the time. So so very fortunate. From then we couldn't race straight away because I was going in for checks every month, and eventually got to the point where things were looking like they were getting better. So that was when I was 10. Still needed though to get my karting license approval from doctors saying, yep, you're all good to go racing. So we actually, it's a funny story. We actually went through probably 3 different doctors.
Yeah.
All of them kind of said, no, you can't go racing.
Really?
And we went to another one and he was like, oh, are they, because we were saying about karting, and he's like, oh, are they the ones that you push down the hill?
Yeah.
And then Mum and myself were straight away like, yeah, they're the ones. And he's like, oh, that's fine. That's not too bad. So so we kind of tricked our way into doing it. And I still need to get yearly checkups. So for my license, I still need to get yearly checkups, and we're all good with that now. And basically, and nothing's going back now. It's been it's a long time. It's been 14 years ago now. So it's So but basically, from then started racing. My dad got into racing obviously because my dad he raced karts, and my uncle as well. So basically since I started racing karts, Dad didn't race as much. So he kind of put everything, I kind of stole the limelight. But it was good fun racing. My first, actually funny story, time in a kart on a track was at Oran Park. And for those that don't know, Oran Park, basically the kart track was down the bottom, as you know, it's down the bottom section, and you basically start right down the bottom and then turn ones just before you go up the hill. Yeah,
it was a great little track.
It was unreal, probably one of my favourites. And but then you go up the hill over the bridge and then you turn right to come down the hill. And so my first time, I didn't quite make it to the downhill bit because I basically was probably, I don't know, at the time scared of the speed or something and stopped going up the hill. So I didn't know at the time, so I was probably going half throttle for what I had. But at the time, Dad had wound the throttle back half throttle as well because he didn't want me going too fast as well. So we were pretty much getting 0 throttle and found out going up the hill. And my poor dad had to come run up behind me, and it was push starts at the time. So he's trying to push start me up this steep hill at Aaron Park, and eventually got it going. And then from then it was started.
Do you remember your first go-kart though? Like what it looked like? Like do you remember the characteristics of it?
Yeah, so it was an old CMP. I don't think they're around anymore these days, but basically John Pasquale and Colin Hurst, they were big supporters of my racing younger days. So basically John, he helped us get a little CMP, because that's what my dad was racing at the time as well. It was, had square pods, grey pods. It was, I think the chassis was purple colour.
So purple and grey.
Yeah, and had a little J motor on it, Yamaha J motor. So it was, it was good fun. Still got photos of that and everything at home. But I think at the time the class was called midgets. I think it's Cadet 7 or something now. But
it's totally changed since we've left.
Everything's changed now. But it was midgets at the time, and we'd done all right. My first race on my P's, I think I obviously got lapped and all the rest of it, but then first race off my P's actually was when I got my first race win. So it was, I remember that race at Eastern Creek, Macca's track, which is, as you remember, basically called it Macca's track because you go down to Macca's and come back. So
they didn't use that much, did they?
Nah. Back then they did, but then I think probably after 1 or 2 years of me racing, they pretty much stopped it because that's where they had the hire carts going after that. But no, it was good fun, good track, and from then on it sort of started from there. So.
And then so John and Colin, essentially, you built a massive relationship then with your go-karts, didn't you? You're actually good mates with Josh Craig, who listens to the show too. So can you explain a bit about your days? Obviously, Cole's passed away. And I think a lot of the listeners would actually like to hear some of the stories that you've had with him. Yeah,
so Cole was an interesting character, as everyone who met him knows. He, like I said, him and John are massive supporters of mine. They basically helped me through my entire karting career. So there's a point where obviously financially we probably couldn't keep racing, and John was like, "No, we're going to keep you going." And so they helped me with engines, everything like that. I ended up working with Cole for a little bit as well. And so basically, Hursty, he had a close association with Kart One Racing, which is where Josh Craig, his dad Tim Craig, obviously ran that. And
the good old Top Kart days.
Yeah, good old Top Kart days, Kart One. So it was very interesting. We Cole, working with Cole is something else. You build a very, very good relationship. Well, you can go one of two ways. You can either build a very good relationship, or he just doesn't want to know about you. Fortunately for me, it was a very good relationship. I used to see him all the time. Even when I stopped karting, I used to go and see him all the time. And before he passed away, he unfortunately had to go into a nursing home and everything. And I was up there seeing him quite often as well. So it's always sad part of life, I guess. But sad seeing someone with that much knowledge get to that point. He's a guru when it comes to karting. he always had his book of stories. I don't know if you
no,
ever got
I haven't
it,
heard of him. No,
basically he had this book, and I don't know if anyone listening probably would have seen it if they know him, but it was basically a book with photos in it, and he had a story for every single photo.
Right.
And literally brought out every time somebody came over. So because I was there every day, I probably heard the same story about 50 times. But it was good. It was good. And he's very, he actually helped me a lot in terms of my racing, like actual driving as well, because he was very straight to the point. He was he'd let you know if you're doing a bad job. And so he taught me a lot, and he's just amazing how much knowledge he had. And to be able to learn from that was amazing for me. And the things that some things I still use now, like basically his attention to detail is second to none. He's just every tiny little bit needs to be looked at, and so that's stuff that I even use now, not only racing but in everyday life as well, is the attention to details. It's he's got like I said, interesting character, but learnt a lot from him, which is good. He I remember actually one story just popped in my head now. He it's not just one story, but basically all the time we had lunch, we'd go out and get sandwiches or something like that, and for whatever reason did not like cucumber. And I remember one time me and Josh Craig went down, and
I was going to ask you this. It's good that you're here
now. So Josh actually went and did the lunch orders, and I was just there with him, and he comes back and there was cucumber on the sandwich, and Kirsty opens it up, sees a cucumber, and basically throws it at Josh. Goes, "What's this shit?" And then it goes from that. So it was that happened a few times. If you ever had cucumber in your sandwich, you didn't want to know about it. So
did you prank him every now and then, or was it just the one off?
Nah, you wouldn't prank Kirsty because he'd let you know about it. He is one guy because it's very simple. So if anything like that happened, he'd remember it for a week or two. So it was one of those things where it's like would be funny to prank him, but then you'd hear about it for the next 2 weeks. So
he'd tell you to fuck off.
Pretty much. So So no, it was good fun though. So
did he tell you about, as you said, about the book? Did he talk about him and John racing back in the day, comparing like the ages of like the generation of kart racing? Yeah.
So basically, the photos in his book, he had photos of his twin. So he used to race twins. He was a very good racer himself. So he won nationals and all the rest of it in twins. And he was racing against some of the best in the country, like John Pizarro's, all the rest of it. He's got stories of that. He's got stories of obviously drivers that he's supported through the time, like your Troy Hunts, McFadden's, Lindbaum, all those. So so it's interesting hearing stories about all those guys as well. And just the things that he used to do. Like he even had, and he always said he'd take him to his grave, which he almost did, but he still had him at home. But basically, he used to have these engines from back in the days when Hunt was racing, and he just never wanted to sell them. He's just like, nah, I don't care how much you can get for them. They're just staying with me all the rest of it. So,
right.
And he had this one particular carby, which it was just a masterpiece. Like even carburetors these days don't look anything like this, and it was something that he pretty much made himself. So basically they had international events that used to come over here, and there was one race where Hunt would literally, it was at Eastern Creek and just a long straight, and Hunt would literally pull out of the corner, pass him, pull in front of him, and he had guys offering him jobs over in Europe and offering to buy these carburetors and all the rest of it. Just didn't want to know about it. He was just like, nah, don't want any of that. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. So
Do you remember your first racing experience though? You said that your uncle and your dad were used to race. Do you remember like turning up to the track as a kid at some point and supporting your uncle, so to speak? Or?
Yeah, so it's hard to. So my dad, I remember going with my dad, mostly at Oran Park. Don't remember it in details. It's weird. I actually don't remember much before my heart surgery, so I don't know what they did to me in there. But
they revived you like
exactly. So, but yeah, I do remember going out and being at the track with dad and my uncle, and they were always racing together in different classes. But I remember going up to Orange one year when they had nationals up there as well. I think it was some big event, and dad was racing in Risa. Some things I do remember from racer days is some of the guys I used to race against as well. So I'd always be on the grid with dad, and like Justin Rugias and those sorts of guys. Right. They were racing with him at the time, and
cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we actually talk about it now. Obviously, Justin was a lot younger than my dad, but at the time, but I catch up with Justin a lot now, and we still have stories of when they were racing racer back in the day. So so no, it was cool. Like dad he was he raced against some few top guys in those sorts of classes. So
yeah. Did you look up to anyone when you were racing karts as like a driver that you wanted to beat or someone that you idolised? So like for me, as you knew, because I was your teammate at some point, I idolised Christian Lindbaum and all those guys and Hunt and stuff. Do you remember idolising a certain driver that you want to be like at all?
I didn't necessarily idolise anyone, but at the time when I started going through karting, like your Dave Serras and that were just dominating. So for me, it was sort of seeing those guys, like obviously Troy Hunt as well. Like he was in it way before I was starting, but seeing guys like that and hearing, obviously being around Hurst and hearing stories about it, you always knew that that's where you need to be at if you want to be the best. So so it was more sort of seeing what those type of drivers were doing, and like I said, Dave Serra at the time was just dominating. So so sort of seeing what he was doing at the time was sort of like, I want to get to that point. We won nationals in, I think it was Newcastle 2014 or something like that.
What class?
I was actually racing Club and Heavy, so Yamaha Heavy and X30 Light. So both of them though, Dave was in the same class. So, so we were actually the only ones to beat him over the weekend. That was his record-setting title. It was his 18th or whatever it was at the time. He's won that many. but so we actually won the first heat race of X30 Light. It was my first race in X30. We rocked up in the Art Grand Prix car at the time with Devash and another mate of mine. So we had a good crack at it. We won the first heat, got taken out in the second heat, and then we're kind of crawling our way back through the weekend. Just missed out in the final. Dave ended up winning it, but it was a good experience to be able to race against him in obviously the peak of his karting career, and to be able to mix it with him and have a shot at it was pretty cool too. So. Yeah,
can you explain to me a bit of like the Duvision Art deal? So how'd that come about? Because Art was essentially, they're an open wheel team in Europe. Yeah, how did that all happen to him bringing them over here and you helping distribute them, so to speak? Yeah,
so basically Tavashin raced, so he's had quite a good career himself in open wheels. Obviously now he's raced it in Porsche Carrera Cup. He raced overseas in Formula 3, Formula BMW, and was racing at quite a high level. So he made a lot of connections overseas during his time. And basically when he came back, he's gotten into the Porsche racing again, but he kind of wanted to move more into running a kart team as well. So I'd been mates with him from karting days going back, and so we'd been in touch, and he asked if I wanted to firstly test the kart, and then we tested it, and then he just asked me if I wanted to race it for him as well. So we went through probably 3 months of testing before our first race, which ended up being a CRK event in Tag Light at Eastern Creek. And when we were testing, there was no other tag karts around. I'd never raced tag before, so we didn't know what times we were meant to be doing or anything like that. And so we came into the event really at the unknown. It was probably the fourth round, I think, of the series. So everyone else had been racing all year in it and all the rest of it. And we rock up and we ended up polling it by 3 or 4 tenths and won every single race of the weekend and won the state title. So it was
Davishan your mechanic engineer then, or was it your dad?
Yeah, no. So Dad was there too, but Devarshan was he was doing all the main stuff, especially when we started then traveling around and running the team as well, because he was sort of obviously team manager at the time and built it up to quite a good little team. So we had a few KZ drivers in there. He was. Do
you remember any of the main ones that you had, like the main drivers?
So at the time was when Tom Williamson was starting out. So we actually had Joseph Burton Harris, Johnny Grother. I think a couple of others of his main drivers as well. So we probably had a team of probably 7 or 8 of us. At the time, it was sort of at the time when karting was starting to change into what it is now.
The Doohan era kind of started to change over.
So karting now, from what I've seen, is very team oriented. You just have a bunch of kart teams and
like Europe, it's
pretty much
Europe.
Whereas before that, it was more you'd get your myself and my dad would rock up and we'd go racing.
We'd just turn up with an old trailer. And get out of
So
do you remember Fergus Syme used to turn up with a horse trailer?
I do. Way back in the day.
Do you keep in contact with any of the old North Shore Kart Club boys?
A couple of them that I was mates with before they even joined. Like I think you raced against Mitch Hudson, David Verma and those boys. So obviously Devarshan as well. Other than that, not a whole heap. Like there's a few that are you see at the racetrack with at the supercar events and stuff now. But yeah, other than that, there's not a whole heap that I talk with anymore. So
Dave Kerman, didn't he build his own go-kart and start his own engineering career?
He did. So he's actually racing in the Australian Off-Road Rally Championship now with Walkinshaw. So
yeah, right.
He's an engineer down at Walkinshaw, and so they've got Warren Luff running in their main production thing there, and then they've got Kermon. He built his own car and everything, and out of a Chevy, and yeah, he's now racing in that with Luffy. So I think they're doing Fink in a few months' time or whenever that is this year. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes for him.
He's like you though. He didn't come from much of a budget either.
Nah. So he's been trying to, since he stopped karting, he was trying to get into all sorts of car racing, but never could budget wise. And then like I said, he's been working with Walkinshaw for a few years now. So this kind of, he's been working on it for a little bit, and it's finally come up for him. And like for him, a great experience. Like to be able to team up with Luffy as well is, anytime you can do that, you're going to learn a lot. So it's good for him. So it's good to see that.
Did he work with GM before or Chevrolet and then moved to Walkinshaw? How did that all happen?
To be honest, I don't. I think he just started with Walkinshaw. Okay. I'm pretty sure he's just been with Walkinshaw. So just went down there as an engineer and sort of been going ever since.
Yeah. So do you when you were a kid, you were talking about like, your open heart surgery and stuff like that. Outside of karts, did you do any other sports, like any other school sports, or did you like football or anything like that?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I played soccer or football a fair bit. So I actually got to a point when I was, I think it was 12 or 13, where my parents told me, to decide whether you want to do car racing or soccer, because we got to a point where we were doing quite good in soccer as well, and I got offered to go to the state comps and all the rest of it. So in representative football. So
what was the club?
Marconi.
Right. So I'm all about the details on this podcast.
That's it. I like it. So Marconi was at the time they were one of the big representative football clubs at the time. So
they were in the National Soccer League or something before the A League. Right.
Yeah. So so I got asked to, basically my team that I was with, there was scouts and everything, and I reckon probably 60% of us all got asked to go and try out. Then I tried out, and they asked me to come join them, and then my parents were like, this is going to be way too much. Decide whether you want to do racing or football. So probably to their, I don't know, dislike because of the expenses in it, I chose racing.
But
it was good. They loved it. So Dad, like we said, whole family's been involved in racing the whole time. So so I think for them it was a good choice as well.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about your family? You've got Jazzy, your sister. She's sister or cousin?
Cousin.
There we go. So Martin's your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got the rest.
Yeah, so I got my dad, Martin, my uncle, Anthony, and then, we've got Jasmine's my cousin, so she used to race as well. Actually, my whole family's pretty much raced. So my sister raced for a little bit. Not heaps. She kind of wasn't as passionate, I think, about it. She did all right. But her and Jasmine used to go out and just run around on practice days together as well, and then Jasmine raced for a fair bit as well. Same as my other cousin, Richard. Yep. So they used to swap. They used to have the same cart and just swap it every now and then.
Richard's actually a chef, isn't he?
He is. He's a very, very good chef, actually. So he's opened up quite a few restaurants and been around and been poached by a few people. So.
One world renowned is Burger Head.
That's it. Yeah.
He helped start that, but why did he leave that?
There was a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes that sort of forced him out, and now he's actually back into it again. So
is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
They went through a bit where basically they thought they didn't need him, and then sort of pushed him to the side, and then they went downhill quite quickly, and then went, oh, hang on a minute, we need you. So he's back helping them boys out again. But he's very, very good chef. It's we grew up racing as a family. Like I remember when we were racing, Jasmine and my uncle, they lived in Erskine Park, and there was this road that we used to drive past to get to Oran Park all the time, and they'd be coming out with us, so they'd literally jump over their fence. We'd pull up on the main road, they'd hop in the car, and then off we'd take again.
Really? So did you guys all have your carts together in the one area, as a family, or not?
Yeah, pretty much, because Dad used to do a lot of the maintenance stuff on it. So at the very beginning, he'd do all the maintenance, and then obviously my Uncle Anthony, he'd do Jasmine's side of it as well. But there was like some events, like when my sister was racing, where I'd been midgets, she'd been rookies, and we literally at the time it was in the J motor, so we'd literally take the restrictor out, put the bigger restrictor in for her, and then she'd go race, and then we'd just swap carts all the time. So
yeah,
it was pretty full on at the time because we only had the one cart and we were both wanting to race. So Dad made it work, and it went well. There was one race actually where we actually were doing that, and we both ended up coming on the podium. So I won midgets, and she got third in rookies. So it was
right. So you guys started together, really? Did you and Jazzy?
Pretty much. Yeah. So I think they probably started a little bit after my sister and I, but we're pretty much always there together. So
yeah. How did the whole 86 thing come about? So like you obviously did the Utes, but how did the deal? Actually, no. You know what? We'll actually go back to what you talked about, the original Utes before the Utes that you're racing, because the 86s are in between all that.
Yeah.
So how was it like transitioning from the go-kart, as you said, to the big Ute, but not having any did you do any state racing or anything?
Nah, got thrown straight into the deep end. So
yeah, okay.
It's one that I've actually haven't done as much racing as what I think people think I've done. So
yeah,
I actually started, like I said, in the V8 Ute. So I did a race in 2014 at Darwin.
Yeah.
Then that was with Andrew Fisher. He helped me out a lot. Like I said, I was working with him, and he basically said, "Look, if you do all this other stuff, then I'll give you a shot. You can have a race," and he paid for it and everything. So
yeah, right.
A lot of what I've done is big thanks to Andrew. So
yeah,
he's been a great help. And so I did that Darwin one. Then the following year, Fishtail was doing TCM as well as Utes.
Yeah.
And we got to the Bathurst event, and everything was pretty full on, and he realised he couldn't do both of them at the same time. So he's like, well,
trying to do double duty.
Yeah. So he's like, well, do you want to race the Ute? And I thought, well, I'm not going to say no to that. So I had to get a little bit of sponsorship together, and we managed to get that. And then, we got on the grid in the Jesus Ute at Bathurst. Got rookie of the round for that one. And I think we were 11th or 10th overall. So that was another great one. Then from that, I then moved. I was still working with him, but not as much. I was starting to go into property stuff.
Yeah.
But then Cedars, so Luke, because Cedars were running Fisher's car before that, he asked me if I wanted to race with them at Bathurst the following year. So then I managed to get the sponsorship together for that one-off event.
Yeah.
And then we ended up doing very well in that. So that was in 2016.
Yeah.
Ended up finishing third in the second race, which was my first podium in a Ute race, and it was my only my third ever race. I was at Bathurst as well, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we ended up finishing, I think, 7th for the round. And this was back when, like I said, they had 30 odd cars in it, and like I was racing against guys who had been in it for ages. Like I know in the second race I held off Nathan Pretty, Royal Harris, Kim Jane, a few of these big names that were just massive in the Utes. And so
did you race at Homebush at all?
I did a practice session there. So basically that same year, one of the guys, I think it was Matty Nolan, couldn't turn up, but part of the Ute series is if you entered for a whole year, you have to
Jack Elsgood actually said that on the podcast. You had to actually race the car because of the license.
So basically they did a little bit of a shifty. They said if I could come at the budget. I couldn't come at the budget because it was such short notice. But then Luke was like, well, we need to run the car, so do you want to just come and do practice for us? So went and did the practice session, and then we just wiped our hands and said, we had a mechanical drama, can't race for the rest of the weekend. So it was kind of annoying because I think I ended up 10th or 11th in that session. So I was were
you on the scoreboard as Nolan or Borg?
No, I was still as myself. So,
okay.
But it's just a shame because it was like, well, that was my first time ever at the track, and we were kind of there, and but it was still cool to get experience around that track. But basically from that, Luke Cedars saw obviously must have seen something in me and asked me then the following year if I wanted to race for them in the 86 series. So, so I did 2017 with them. We started out okay, and we're going for the podium in the last race, and I had a bit of a bingle with Benny Grice, and ended up on the side and caused a massive pile up. Then we got penalised, and he got penalised, and it was just basically a big mess. And
do you remember the car that you drove? Who owned it before or anything like that?
The 86 was actually one of Luke's ones, so it's actually going forward, I guess, a bit. It was actually the car that I ended up winning the championship in 2019. So.
So you raced it from 2017 to 19, the 86?
No, so I actually had 20. So I raced it for all 2017 season.
Yep.
Then we had 2018 off.
Yep.
So basically, I was getting a house, getting married, all the normal
I was going to
outside of racing stuff.
Yeah.
I'd take the year off in 2018 just to get all that sorted, and then missed the racing a little bit too much. So worked hard to get get all the sponsorship together. I was also 2018 was helping set up a property business at the same time as well. So there was a lot happening, I guess, away from racing, which sort of took it. But then realised how much I missed racing and how much I needed to be around it. So we made the budget come together. And to be honest, we didn't quite have all the budget together. But Luke was like, mate, we'll make it work. And basically had a deal where in the 86s there's prize money. It's one of the very few categories in the country that actually have decent prize money. So there's actually 50 grand.
50 grand.
Yeah, so if you win it, it's 50 grand. I think there's 120 all up. Well, at the time there was. I'm not sure what it is now, but at the time it was 120 all up. And basically we had
Toyota's got to be the only series essentially giving away money.
Yeah,
you'd say in
exactly
Motorsport Australia at the moment. Yeah.
And so Toyota's great. Like they get right behind their grassroots sports and everything. So it's it helped me a lot because like I said, my deal with Luke was, well, whatever the budget shortfall was, if we won any prize money, that would go directly to the team. So fortunately we had a great year. It didn't start great. I qualified I think 16th in Phillip Island. But then we had a really good first race, came from 16th to 4th. And that kind of set the year up. So Townsville was the second round. We didn't quite have a good round there as well. But I still left it. I think I was 4th in the championship. And then, we basically did a big restructure and everything after that. So we had 8 weeks and we basically had what we called an 8-week challenge where basically we did a lot of, with all the Cedars team, we did a lot of fitness training. We did a lot of, so that was with Lee from Reaction Performance. We then did a lot of skid pan stuff and driver training with James from Driving Solutions.
And you're still connected to him to this day.
Yeah, correct. So I actually still do a lot of stuff. Like before every round, I go out on the skid pan and he helps me out. And it's just going back to the basics and that. And it's not like we were doing anything special, but it was just one thing I learned from that experience is that you look at every other sport and even your top guys have trainers. Like your Roger Federers, your Tiger Woods, all the top
football
guys,
football
players, they've all got coaches. And so it just clicked with me then that will kind of make sense to have someone who knows what they're doing, who can help you with all the basics. And that's all it is, all about going back to the fundamentals. And so that helped us a lot. We, after that break, came back. Bathurst was the next round. We polled it at Bathurst.
What year was this?
This is 2019.
Oh, 2019,
so the year that we won it. Yeah, so that was pretty much our turning point in the season, and we ended up cleaning up at Bathurst. We won 2 of the 3 races and were second in the other race. We then swept Sandown, and then we came into the last round just in front in points, and then scraped through. There was a little bit of a incident at the start of the first race, and we just got through it and ended up.
Who was your main opponents that year though? Who was your main competitors?
So the main ones were Timmy Brook and Luke King. So,
okay. Well, I've had King in here, not Brook.
Yeah, okay.
I've had requests for Brook though.
I like it. So so it was actually Timmy who him and King were going up the hill at Newcastle side by side, and Timmy just missed his braking point and put it into the wall. And that was pretty much championship decided. So we were able to just, I guess, kind of cruise around for the rest of the weekend and finish second in that one. And then the others, I think I was 5th or 6th, and ended up winning it. So it was so that kind of set me up for moving forward. Well, then the plan was to then move into Super 3 or Super 2 the following year. And I had a few offers and got a couple test rides in Super 2 and Super 3 teams.
COVID. The teams was it Brad Jones or was it other?
So it was other teams at the time. So I actually had Anderson Motorsport gave me a quick drive in their car at one of the ride days that we were doing at Eastern Creek, and he was pushing hard to get me in his car, and we were trying very hard and got very close, and then fortunately COVID hit and kind of put a backward step on all of that. So then when everything, I guess, opened back up, we there was a one-off 86 race that we did with Luke. Then 2021. The plan was again to move into Super 3, but basically it was Super 2 at the time. My main sponsor through COVID had basically gone bust, not bust completely, but they weren't doing great, so we couldn't throw in any money for the racing. So Luke said, well, why don't we put together a program in the V8 SuperUtes? And I was like, well, yeah, it gets me racing at least.
Got
so,
past experience in it.
Yeah, exactly. And I was never, to be honest, I was never really interested in the SuperUtes when they were diesels.
Yeah, okay.
Just didn't really interest me much at all, to be honest.
I don't blame you.
But since they put the LS3 V8s in them, they're just next level. They're really cool cars. So I helped them a lot. Basically, that was the first year that they ran the V8s, and so I helped a lot through some of the development stuff and all the rest of it, and playing with throttle mappings and just to make.
They're a H pattern gearbox, aren't they?
They are, yeah. Okay. So
has there been talks to change it to like a sequential or anything, or is it just?
Because I think that's part of why they're so good. Is they're just real old school racing. So you got small tires, lots of weight, lots of power. Yeah. They got over 500 horsepower in the things. So it's it's quite a lot for a ute. And so no, they're great fun. So they're as weird as it sounds, they're similar technique to driving a supercar.
Yeah, okay.
So they're for different reasons, obviously, but in terms of the way you're carrying the brake into the corner, the way you're getting on the throttle, it's very, very similar. So for me, it was like a no-brainer to do it because it kind of gets you ready for supercars. And so so 2021 we obviously started that, then the next COVID thing hit, and so we had another long break, and but then that was kind of blessing in disguise because we came back and had 2 rounds at Eastern Crete, which we polled both of them by over 6/10, which was big margins, and that kind of opened up the eyes to some supercar teams. So actually Luke was talking with Brad at the time, and he was asking a few questions about what I'm doing, and kind of got the conversation rolling from that. And from there we actually got offered a test drive with them at the end of 2021. We just missed out on winning the 21 Ute title, unfortunately. It came right down to the last round.
You and Roll Harris.
Yeah, so basically we just needed to finish, and Roll knew that and made sure it didn't happen. But you get that. But
he likes he's Rubbin's racing for him.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. So it's unfortunate, but hey, things happen. So it's but like I said, it was good for us because we had a supercar test with Brad Jones, went very well, probably better than what I'd expected, to be honest. And we're very close to their lead driver at the time in terms of times and everything. And Brad was very impressed, and basically offered me a drive for this year in Super 2. Unfortunately couldn't get the budget sorted in time. But it's on the cards for doing 2 rounds later this year. So we're very, very close to getting that all sorted, and then moving into a full season probably with them next year. So
okay. And you're gonna build up your way to do more Super 2 supercar stuff. I guess.
So this year the plan, we weren't planning on doing Super Utes. But when we couldn't get the budget sorted for Super 2, Luke's like, well, let's get you back in the Super Ute. We'll put you in a Holden. So they were building a Holden up at the time, and because the Super 2 stuff's going to be in a Holden, it was kind of made sense. For a few sponsors that I've got coming on board, they kind of just wanted to be in a Holden, so it made a good synergy there. And then basically where the plan is to do 2 rounds, so Bathurst and probably Adelaide later this year. And then use that as a stepping stone to then go into.
Are you going to run number 14 or are you going to run number 4?
I don't know yet.
You don't
Whatever's
know?
there.
Yeah. Okay. So how you got to explain to me a bit about like your property business and obviously your wife now. So I haven't heard about this for a long time. So can you actually explain like how you met your wife?
So it's through a friend of mine, actually someone you know, Noel. So he's he was big in all your club days and all the rest of it.
Trust me, I know about that.
So I actually went to school with him, and she worked with him, and so we met like that. So so and then like I said, been married now since 2018. So it's and then the property side of it, that sort of started. I've been doing property, like I studied property at university, so property investment and development.
What uni did you go to?
Western Sydney.
Okay.
So started with one company in 2017, I think it was. And then that kind of progressed into a guy who I met, who we then started Maven Property with. So he started up, and then sort of my deal with him was, if you can help me build it up to a certain level, I'll give you equity in it, and you can become a partner.
And that's Maven Property.
Yeah, so that's Maven on the shirt. So
right. So that
bit of self-promotion. So we've been running since 2018, and been going very well. So it's been a good time for property as well, which always helps. But so it's good to have, I guess, that something a little bit different away from racing as well.
Yep.
that I'm passionate about, that you can sort of do there as well. But it's it gets busy at times when you're away racing and having to do everything else at the same time. But it's it's good to have that I guess that work-life balance as well.
Yeah, you're a bit into cycling as well, aren't you? Like you like your cycling too.
Yeah. So I been doing a fair bit of cycling. It actually tied back into going back to my heart surgery and everything when I was a kid. Going in and out of hospital. Starlight Foundation at the time had a big thing and they still do at the Children's Hospital. They got the Starlight Room, which is basically they've got this room with, at the time, just show my age, but it was all Nintendo 64s and everything at the time. We had Mario Kart, and to be honest, that's like, I think I mentioned earlier, I don't remember much prior to my operation, but that was one of the things I actually remember the most, and that's kind of stuck with me through everything, and I've been wanting to get to a point where I can, I guess, give back to them because they've helped me so much through it, and I was always going through my racing. I was never really open about my heart surgery and everything because I didn't want many people to know about it, and I've now realised that there's a lot of people who actually are inspired, I guess, in a way by it because they're going, like young kids or their kids are going through something similar and they see what I'm doing and go, well, if you've had open heart surgery and you're now racing at 300 k's an hour at some tracks and you can do that, then it shows that, well, you can really do anything if you're going through that sort of stuff. So so the cycling kind of tied into Starlight because they do Tour de Kids every September. And so so last year I kind of kick-started my relationship with Starlight with setting up all of that side of things, and we raised quite a lot of money for them, which was great, and we're now looking to take that to the next step, and I'm actually going to I'm in the process of helping them set up a car cruise and track day for Starlight as well. So so it's very early in the works at the moment, but we're looking.
Are you going to have other drivers and stuff involved in that, or?
Yeah. So we're looking to do it. So it's just basically a big car cruise. So basically getting it out there to everyone who owns your nice hotted up cars, or even your not so hotted up cars, doesn't really matter. But basically going on a cruise. We haven't exactly got the finer details yet, but we'll be going for a cruise, starting in destination, going through some cool roads, and then finishing up at the racetrack. And then doing kind of a half a track day. Or a track night out at Eastern Creek there. So it's something that I'm very, very passionate about and helping to raise money for them and everything. It's actually Starlight Day today, funny enough. But
Wow.
But it's so it's something that I love getting behind and really helping to make sure that they're getting everything that they can, because some of the things they do is just quite amazing. So we're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff with wishes and everything for kids as well. I was pushing to try and get wishes where they can hop in the race car and go for a passenger ride, but they weren't too keen on that for obvious reasons. But it's one of those things where we're doing what we can and having the car out there on display for kids and everything to have a look at and that as well. So
where did the number 4 come from? Like where do you think of your race number back then?
So I actually started with number 46. Because that was my dad's number.
Okay.
Then my first state title that I did was, where was that at? I think it was in Grenfell. And someone else had number 46 and they gave me 41.
Okay.
So then I went well at that state championship, so I'm like, I'll just stick with 41. And then basically from there I've just always had a 4 in my number.
Similar to me.
So we were 41, then I think someone else took 41. So it ended up being 14. Probably yourself. At a North Shore event or something.
It was definitely me then.
There you go. So then we swapped to 14. So I'm like, still got 4.
Okay.
And then then when I went into cars, I think someone else when I was in Utes already had 14. It wasn't even Utes, no, sorry. When I was in Utes, I was using other people's numbers. So it would have been 86s. Someone had 14. So then I ended up with 4. And I'm like, well, I've always had a 4 in my number. So it's sort of stuck ever since.
So you got to explain to me a bit of on your Facebook you posted about the Chamber of Commerce, the Australian Maltese thing. How did that all happen? So what's that all about for like a person who wouldn't know what it's about?
So basically my heritage is Maltese. Borg's probably one of the biggest names, like Smith in Malta. It's quite a big name over there. And basically I met a guy called Sydney Borg. He used to run all the Hooters Australia stores in Australia, and he was sponsoring Dave at the time in 86s when I was racing Utes in 2016 out at Bathurst. And he saw the surname on the car and he's like, wow, that's cool because he's a Borg as well. So it's so we kind of hit it off and have been talking back and forward since then. And he in 2019 he was trying to get me out to it. We went to one of their events, and then 2020 we're going to start doing a lot more. But obviously COVID hit and they didn't have any events on. So so it's basically been probably 2-3 years in the works. But I basically got invited out there probably a month ago now, and basically they're a chamber that's set up to, I guess, help Maltese business owners to connect together, kind of like a networking type thing. But then also what it allows them to do is some of these businesses actually have direct connections with Malta. So it actually provides them that direct connection and makes things easier when it comes to doing business between Australia and Malta as well. So
right. Does that help your property business and your racing, or is there any direction that it helps it with? Or not
so in terms of, it's a lot getting out there, but it's also some of the guys in there are actually very, very keen to get involved in racing. So they're we're working on a few deals with some of the guys there, and also on a grander scheme, we're trying to get it's progressing quite well. We're trying to get Malta Tourism on board in V8 Supercar as well. So so they sponsored teams like Manchester United, and so big teams around the world. So we're working closely with the connections here to make that happen, and it's progressing quite well, which is positive. So
you got to tell me a bit about, as you were saying off air, about your crypto. How did that all? I don't even know how that works. So can you explain to me how crypto works? Because I literally just know the bank and cash flow. So I'd actually like to know a bit of it. Like, can you teach me and the audience like how crypto works and how you get into it?
Oh, if we've got another 5 hours, I'd be able to. But
we've got a fair bit.
Yeah, that's it. But basically that came about. So through the property business, my business partner, one of his mates was heavily involved in crypto, and he actually made a lot of money. So he started with 10 grand and ended up 18 months later pulling out like 2.6 million or something.
Wow.
And so at the time, myself and John, my business partner, we were both very skeptical because he was telling about us probably halfway through him making that. He's like, oh, you need to look at this. And we were like, yeah, it's probably not for us right now. And then he ends up showing us what he'd done. And the reason why he showed us is because he came to us and he said, I want to buy a property. Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. And he's like, oh, looking on Gold Coast, whatever. He's like, oh, I'm just going to pay for it in cash.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay. And then, and so, we found a property from him, it was like 1.2 mil or something. And he's just literally gone, where do I transfer the money? And then we were like, okay. Wow. And then we started asking more questions. And then, it came out that he went through all this stuff with crypto. So, so basically there's a lot to it, but basically a lot of what he does is in sort of pre-sale stuff. So he doesn't go into your big coins or anything like that. He just goes into your smaller coins that are just starting out and gets into them nice and early. Yeah. And then, makes money that way. But it's helped me because I've now I've got a lot of knowledge in it, and I've now created a lot of connections in the crypto space. So one of my big sponsors that are coming on for the supercars later this year, they're actually a crypto company. Yeah, right. So they're called Feline Friends, and basically they're a crypto company that's also got real world use. And they're basically setting up a crypto that's basically helping to create funds and whatnot to then help stranded cats and stray cats. And then they're also going to tie that in with a cafe that's going to be designed around bringing your pets into the cafe and everything as well.
Yeah, so, cool. Where's the cafe going to be based, you know?
The first one's going to be in Sydney.
Yep.
And then, they're planning to do the other ones down in Melbourne as well at the start, and then seeing where it goes. Seeing where it goes from there. So
I've noticed, like, obviously we've got a bit off topic here, but crypto's all over Formula One now. So essentially you would be, I think you might be the first person in supercars to bring a crypto sponsor on.
Yeah, so there's a couple in supercars at the moment, but that's been series type sponsors.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm actually talking with a couple of other crypto exchange companies as well to come on board as well. But basically we've been, because now I've created a few connections in it, we're trying to build that up, and it's getting, obviously it's growing massively and it's becoming more widely accepted. So where I see a big opportunity there, and something that's sort of directly related to the motorsport fan base as well, because those demographics are linked very closely together. So
how do you actually transform like crypto to cash? So like I don't understand that. I'm missing it there.
So it's basically you use your exchanges. So you deposit normal money into an exchange.
Yep.
Then you invest that into whatever you want to invest it in.
Yep.
And then basically when you feel like it, or when you've made your money, or when you've lost your money, whichever way it is, you then withdraw that into what they call a stable coin.
Yep.
Which is basically like a US dollar token, which just replicates US dollar.
Yep.
And then you can then pull that out in your own currency, in your Australian dollar or whatever it might be.
Yeah, right.
And you can see it's transferred straight into your bank account.
So it's like the stock market in a way.
In a way.
Like a crypto stock market type of thing.
In a way, yeah.
Talking about your karting and your car days, what was your favorite like go-kart track as a kid?
Oh, favorite go-kart track would probably be Raleigh.
Yep.
Which is up near Coffs Harbour.
Yeah.
So that was, I think it's a bit destroyed now, but that was
a lot of drifting went on.
Yeah, yeah. But that track it just had undulation. It was a big track. It was had a corner that my favourite corner was kind of like reminded me of Laguna Seca over in the States, and it was basically a fast entry. Then you'd go down this hill and then sharp left-hander straight after it. So it was very, very fun track. Had a bit of everything really. So
what was your favourite go-kart like class itself?
Probably Clubman Pro.
Yeah.
Clubman Light, Clubman Pro. That was when you had like Clubman Pro at, say, Brian Farley Memorial event at Eastern Creek. They were probably the funnest races. It's just always cutthroat. I remember one Clubman Pro race, which was a V8. It was called the V8 Stars Invitational. And
what year was this? Because I left in 2010 in karting.
Yeah, this is probably.
You actually gave me my last go-kart race. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And didn't I end up not qualifying because it rained and I was on fire then.
I forget what year it would have been.
2011 or 12?
Yeah, probably 11 or 12. But basically it was on the Wednesday night before the V8 Supercars up at up at the main Eastern Creek track, and it was an invitational one, so it was free entry, and there was I think $5,000 up for prize money for the winner.
Was this the one when Gallagher won? Ryan Gallagher?
Nah, so Tyler Greenberg came down from. So we had guys from Queensland, guys from Victoria, guys from everywhere coming, and so in the final there was probably 10 of us that were all fighting for it, and I think Greenberg ended up winning it. Chris Walton was second, I was third. And then, I think it might have been Heinrich was second and I was third. And then, there was a few big names in there that got taken out and all the rest of it. So,
do you remember much of like your North Shore Kart Club kind of days though? Like, do you remember just the atmosphere or is there any like special moments that you remember as like friends? Obviously, for me, it was like, I raced with Tim Dennis, and Tim Dennis, I've always had a good friendship with him.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Do you remember like the atmosphere or any good moments?
The biggest thing for me,
drawing in the dirt or anything like that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was the whole. I was very heavily involved with Kart One racing, so it was the whole team environment with Kart One and helping different people, like helping yourself. And I remember Nathan Bond as well. I was helping him out a fair bit, and like I said, Mitch Hudson came on. But then also for me was the big events, I guess that we held there, like the Brian Farley Memorial, the V8 Stars event, your CRK events, all those big events that used to come to the club meetings, because it was kind of those weird feelings where it's like, well, you're at a home track and you race people you normally race, but then you've got all these other people who are coming in at the same time as well. So so no, it was you got plenty of stories, I guess, from karting races and whatnot. But it's it was always good fun. Yeah.
What was your favourite kart chassis though? Was the art or the top kart? Or do you actually have like a weird like kart chassis that you just ideally remember because it was just the best thing that you've driven? So for example, I've told this in another podcast. I had Carl Lindbaum gave me Christian's old Top Kart Viper, right? And I think I qualified top 5 in Brian Farley with that kart, and I had a brand new kart sitting there, but I chose this kart because it was just Carl had just tuned the shit out of it. So that was my favourite kart. Bought that for $800. Is there anything for you that remembers like that was a special kart for you?
There wasn't so much a special kart. Like I was very fortunate that with Top Kart I was helping develop their Clubman specific chassis. So they actually created, like, obviously a big Italian company, don't care much about Australia, but they actually created a chassis with Tim Craig for Clubman, and so I was heavily involved in that. So that was pretty cool to be involved with. The art kart was good because we won a lot in it. But probably there was a special kart similar to that. I don't know whose kart it was, but it was a John Pasquale special that he just pulled out of somewhere, and it was an old Tony kart that we ran at, we ran at one of the City of Sydney races at Oran Park. And I just remember it was an old heap of crap, and we ended up finishing. I think we finished second in the weekend. This thing was like a 2008. We were racing in probably probably 2010, 2011, and this kart was from like the late 90s.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know where he pulled it from, but we just bolted an engine on it and it went and it worked. So
yeah, right.
so it was it's one that I never forget.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was my favourite kart, but it was just one that I never forget racing in. So
have you got any advice for like any young listeners and guys who want to, like yourself, to make it through just into the supercar support categories? Have you got any advice for like kids listening to this?
Biggest advice, I guess, things that I probably learnt too late was really own your own story.
Yeah.
So if you've got a special story, really own that. And then just keep creating networks. Like, don't be afraid to talk about yourself with people outside of racing.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to talk about your own racing with other people and what your aspirations are. And I think myself as a kid, I was heavily involved in a lot of that stuff. And so I was always cold calling sponsors, all the rest of it, because obviously, as we know, sponsorship money is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And so I was actually very fortunate. Through all of that, I picked up some good sponsors. So I got actually sponsored when I was 15. I picked up Repco Australia as a sponsor.
Yeah, I remember that.
Picked up Tag Heuer as a sponsor as well.
Yeah.
So
how did the Repco thing? I totally forgot about that. How did the Repco thing come about?
Basically just cold calling. So I was I was cold calling companies, and Repco came up and got onto them and hit it off a little bit with the marketing manager there.
Yeah.
And then went from there, and I got to do, like, at the time they were sponsoring JRM, so I got to do a lot of promotional events with the JRM drivers and everything. So and then the Tag Heuer thing, again, similar thing, came through cold calling. But that was pretty cool because I got to go to some big events. Like when they had a big event down in Melbourne for the Grand Prix, I got to meet Lewis Hamilton in 2008, I think it was, when he was first starting out.
Yeah, right.
So
didn't he come to Eastern Creek High Karts as well?
He did.
Did you go to see? Did you go to that?
Nah, because that was a Vodafone event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but when Tag Heuer had their event down in Melbourne, I got to go to that one. Met Lewis and a few big stars down there, a few tennis stars and whatnot. So
do you remember much of Lewis Hamilton back then? Because not many people have actually met him, I guess.
Yeah, to me, back then, I really liked him, and he was a great guy and had all the time in the world for me, and was go and you should talk to this guy and all the rest of it. And,
really?
So that was pretty cool back then. Don't know what he'd be like to meet now, but he's definitely changed a lot. But I guess 7 World Championships will do that to you. So.
Yeah, and join the Illuminati.
That's it. So that was cool. And going back to the original question, I think that's, for me, I sort of kept a lot of that quiet at the time, and I was sort of just doing it behind the scenes, just working hard myself. But now I realise if I put it out there more and told my story to more people, then probably would have opened up a lot more doors.
Yeah.
So probably the biggest thing is just tell your story and don't be afraid to tell everyone what you're trying to do, because in the end, the more people that know about it, the more opportunities that could open up. So.
What's your future goals in motorsport though? Like, obviously you want to be a race car driver in the supercars. Have you got any aspirations of eventually owning your own race team at some point or anything like that, or not really?
Look, for me, I'm realistic. I'm not as young as a lot of, I'm not old, but I'm also not as young as a lot of the guys coming through. So for me, if I could get into Super 2, do a good job and get an enduro drive, I'd be pretty happy. In terms of owning a team, one aspiration I've got is probably owning a GT team, whether it be in Australia or overseas, and sort of using that. I've sort of basically, my plans is if I don't make it to enduro and supercars, that take a few years off, help build the business up, and then get it to a point where I can then just go, let's just go race this.
Yeah,
just have some fun racing in that sort of stuff, whether it be overseas or here or wherever it might be. So
would Duvishan be involved in that? Because
I'm sure he would at some point. Yeah. So we've always spoken about trying to do Bathurst together or something like that. So that'd be pretty cool to link something like that up. So
what was like? Do you want to race any certain team in the Bathurst Enduros or anything, or you just want to get your foot? Is there any do you want to try and go through the BGR route in a way?
Yeah, like look where I am right now. I see that as a very, very good stepping stone for me, because they're a great team. Brad's very straight to the point. So if you're not good, he'll let you know. And he lets you know exactly what he feels, which is good. I like that. And so for me, I feel like you can learn a lot more. They've also got 4 cars in the main game, so chances of, if you do a good job and can bring some budget, chances are you'll have an endurance seat there. So that's obviously short-term goals. Long-term, you just don't know. It's one of those things where.
What's your take on the new Gen 3 supercars?
Yeah, I don't mind them. They look pretty good close up. Still got a lot of work by the looks of it to do to get them sorted for next year. I'm hoping that they can get them all sorted and get racing in it.
Get all the chassis sorted.
We need supercars need some sort of change, I think. So it's they've been with the current cars for quite a few years now, and they're getting to the point where I think changing things up is going to be a good thing. And from what they're saying, you can follow closer and race better and everything. So the thing is that I think supercars where it is right now is it's a competitive series, and that's what a lot of people forget is the main reason why you don't see much passing is because everyone's so close. Like when
there is a lot of aero though in those cars.
There is. So, and that's where I think with the new cars is reducing that aero, but also keeping the field very close is you're gonna make it a lot better racing.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on? Just all right, you can take a drink. Yeah.
There we go.
Yep. What's your thoughts on, like, if you were, say, normally I've said to people in the past, if you were like the boss, if you were to be the boss of Motorsport Australia, but for you, because you're involved in the supercars realm, if you're boss for supercars going forward in the future, what would you do and change in the sport to keep it going? I'll give you my thoughts, and I'll give you I'll start.
Yeah, you can go.
Okay, I'll start. So at the moment, supercars is in a direction where obviously you've got Chevy and Ford, but Chevy's kind of like half there, but not really there.
Yeah.
So they're struggling on that end.
Yeah.
So as you've said, you said with the GT team. So in Japan, I think Japan's got a good formula. So they could essentially turn it into, hypothetically, this is like 10, 15 years away, into like a super GT type of level. Do you reckon they should go in that direction or go into a more NASCAR direction, so to speak?
I think I love the Super GT stuff, by the way. That's very cool over there. But I think what's been proven in Australia is we're very much more that NASCAR side of things. People love their V8s. And what you got to remember, and I think what a lot of people forget when they're talking about where the direction should go is, in the end, we're in the entertainment industry. Yeah. We're a sport where we need people to be watching. And I think a lot of people get too hooked up on the comments of people who are just die-hard motorsport fans. Yeah. Really what supercars needs to do is go out to the bigger market, and they've been doing a good job of that. And I think that's where the direction that they're going to make the racing better is good. A lot of people were critical of the different tyre strategies and all the rest of it because they're like, oh, it's not real motorsport. But for me, that's the type of racing that people love. Yeah. And people want to see passing. And so I think moving forward where they need to go is obviously the way that they're setting up this Gen 3, from what I've heard, is they're setting it up so it's got the potential to be hybrid in the future and all the rest of it.
Yeah, okay.
To keep your manufacturers involved in it, because you need your manufacturer support. Like you said, Chevy's not as much involved as what they used to be. Yeah. And I think by doing that, that's going to allow them to really stay with that manufacturer support, but also create that good racing. You just got to look at Formula One and how they're, in a way, it's artificial racing, but it's the best racing that we've had in the last 2 seasons, and so many people are talking about it. I think too, a lot of where the category needs to go is more the behind, not so much the on-track stuff, but more what you do off the track in terms of your media and whatnot as well, and really similar to what F1's done with their Netflix series and stuff like that. Like, that's really changed Formula One. Yeah. There's so many new fans in it, and the sport's thriving at the moment. And so I think I look at it now, and this is, I guess, where I've changed over the years, is I used to look at it purely from a racing point of view, but I now look at it from more of a business and sustainability point of view. You really need that business side of it to be working, so that teams are getting paid the proper money so that they can get the proper drivers in. Yeah. Because that's one of the big things at the moment is the teams aren't really
They're not making money, are they?
Exactly. And so what that's created is it's created a situation where half the drivers on the grid are paying, or they're bringing their own sponsors or whatever it might be. And it'd be great if the category for supercars could get to a point where teams are making enough money that they can just pick and choose the drivers that they want.
Yeah,
and they
right.
Can then have their junior categories, and everyone can have a Super 2 team where they can go, well, we actually want to give this guy an opportunity, or whoever it might be, because we can, and we're going to half fund it or whatever it might be, because we've got the money there, because we're making this money in main game supercars. And
do you reckon they should have more wildcard races going forward, like more wildcard drivers in the field? Like OJ did a great job, same Boise, right? Those boys, do you reckon there should be more of like the, back in the day in the 90s, at the Privateers Cup? Do you reckon they should have more guys joining each round, or do you reckon it should just stay as like a specialty thing?
No, I like the wild cards. I think any time that you can have more more drivers in a category, it's going to be good. And same as I think they need to do, and again, it comes back to the whole what teams make out of it. If you can make the teams make more, then they're going to have bigger budgets to be able to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Same as like Bathurst. Like, I think it'd be great if there was more wildcard entrants at Bathurst. Whether it be the solo rounds or not, I think if you can have your enduros and go back to the 3 enduros where you can then have, all right, we'll do a wild card just for the endurance series.
Yeah.
And then when they get to the point, and this is probably a little bit different, is a lot of people still want Super 2 to be the older cars. But for me, if Super 2 was the same as the current spec, then you'd be able to encourage those teams to then come on board and maybe just do an enduro wild card or whatever it might be.
Isn't that what the supercars board is looking at now, though, to maybe even just skip that whole thing and bring the next gen? Or it's kind of too hard because of the whole build, I guess, of the car.
The issue that they got, again, it comes back to what teams are making, and a lot of teams, their whole structure in terms of financial structure is based on selling the current cars to Super 2 teams.
Yeah.
And so for them, that's a big financial burden if they can't do that. And I think that's where they've created themselves a problem now, is they can't really just skip it, because a lot of teams are reliant on earning money from selling their current cars to Super 2 teams.
Yep.
And so that's where I think it's going to be tricky for them to just go, bang, yep, let's all go Gen 3, because it's not going to be that simple.
No.
So maybe moving forward, eventually they'll be able to get to that point. But it's, I think right now, in terms of directly transferring over, it's going to be a lot more difficult than what they think at first.
Because obviously we've spoken about the supercar stuff. Have you ever even looked at doing S5000 or TCR at all, or you're just not interested in that?
Yeah, no, look, to be honest, I'm very interested in TCR. The issue that we got is, again, it comes back to sponsorship stuff, is you just don't get the same people watching it. That's why when you asked me about Super GT, supercars direction, the Australian market just loves V8s.
Yeah.
That's as simple as it is. And this is where TCR have tried to make themselves be their own event, all the rest of it, S5000, all the rest of it, and it just doesn't work.
And they're just supporting supercars at Bathurst.
Exactly. And it's to me, I really like TCR because it's got that window and the opportunity to go overseas. Yeah. But from a sponsorship point of view, for me, it just doesn't make as much sense, because you just don't get the same level of people watching it. Like supercars, they're one of the most watched sports in the country. Bathurst is the most watched sporting event that we have. And so for me, it's hard to go to a sponsor and go, well, here's what you're getting in supercars land. Here's what you get in TCR. Yeah, it might be a little bit cheaper, but I'm going to give you probably a tenth of what you can get in supercars.
Yeah.
And so that's where, from a business perspective, it's like, well, you're probably better off going into supercars, trying to get that little bit extra money, because you can actually give a lot more to your sponsors. So your sponsors are going to be more keen to stick around.
Yeah.
I think that whole side of it, a lot of it's, you can look, some make it work with sponsorship, but a lot of it comes from your own dollars or your own direct connections with sponsors as well.
Yeah. So have you, as you said, you jumped straight from karts to the utes.
Yeah.
At a point in karting at all, like me, everyone knows that I do Formula Ford and stuff. Did you ever look at the Formula Ford route or anything like that, or you just went?
100%.
You did.
So I actually looked at Formula Ford, Formula 3 at the time.
Yeah, okay.
I was actually talking with guys, and this all sort of came through Tag Heuer.
Yeah, okay.
I was talking with guys overseas in Formula Renault, and they had a series at the time called Formula Masters.
Yep.
And we're actually very close to making that happen, but a few things happened along the way that obviously, a lot of it comes down to money, but didn't quite work out. But I was always at first wanting to go down either the open wheel route to get overseas and then move into GT cars over there, or something similar. But like most people's stories, didn't quite happen.
Just didn't work out
because of sponsorship and whatnot. So
all good. Well, Aaron, dude, I'm so proud that you came on this podcast, and
thanks.
hopefully I'll get you back soon.
Yeah, no, it's been good fun.
No worries. See ya.
Cheers.